Hello everybody, this is my making of Deathscythe-Hell Eternal Walks version. This is the Master Grade Gundam kit, and step 1 is parts preparation. So what I do is I take my time to use my god hand or my knife to cut the pieces off of the sprues or the runners, whichever you call it, of the Gundam into their separate parts. That is simple. I continue to go to step 2. Step 2 is considered filing and bagging. It says step 2, but it's actually step 1.5. So what I do is I follow the instructions on the manual, and what I do is for every part I file the nubs and the seams, if possible, of the different parts before bagging them into their separate bags. Left arm, left leg, right arm, right leg, torso, weapons, and accessories. This step is particularly important because the parts, although they are more or less unique, there are very certain minor differences between the left orientation and the right orientation that to an untrained or a person who is careless, you don't really see a difference, and you end up like putting the elbows or the knees backwards, and that's not what you want. So always label and always categorize your Gundam parts. So this video is actually sped up, I think, 120 times. So you can imagine how much time was put into these. The process is not full. I actually lost a lot of footage of painting. I lost a lot of decal footage, but you get the gist of it, roughly. So this part is just meticulously cutting out all the different runners. I had my whole table opened up with all the different parts so that I could have them in easy reach, because the instructions are not very easy to follow. Not all the parts come from a single runner. It'll be easier that way, but color separation is something that Gundam is popular for, so that's exactly why. So I'm just gonna leave here, and I'll see you guys at the next step. So the next step, I put it step 2. Step 2 is airbrushing. So I don't have a lot of footage of this, but basically I got on my airbrushing equipment, and every piece I painted because the client wanted it to be the same color as the box. So I overpainted it with a matte finish because the plastic just doesn't look very good on a finished Gundam. So I took every single part and I painted it. It's like 200 different pieces. So step 3, there we go, assembly and touch-ups. So what happens is that sometimes I miss the nubs of the certain parts. So this part is where I assemble the pieces, I make sure the joints are clean, I make sure all the nubs are out, I make sure the parts fit properly, and yeah, that is actually about it. It takes a lot of time to make sure the seam lines are clear, make sure all the nubs are clear, make sure the parts move well, because when you paint, you're going to leave a layer of paint against the knobs or the ball joints of the parts, so they tend to be a little bit more sticky, so you need to loosen them up to make sure that the Gundam has the largest or its possible range of movement. So you can see me paneling some of the white bits here because I actually wanted to go ahead to varnish the legs, so I went ahead to line the legs first because I did these in steps. I did one leg first, assembled the leg. I did the arms next, and then assembled the arms. But you get to see it in one smooth flow. So whatever floats your boat, whatever is easier for you, I guess, if you're building it yourself. Figure a way, a process which suits your time constraints. It's a lot easier that way rather than having to do everything step by step. Figure out what works better for you and figure out what you can do. There's some steps that you cannot skip, and there are some steps you can. That's just the beauty of it, because you don't really need to care about other people's opinions, just your own, and how much effort you want to put into Gundam is how much you get out of it, honestly. So you could see the wings, and this is, if I'm not wrong, the torso of the Gundam. This one, the thing is that the problem is that I painted the skeleton gun steel, and most of it was covered up by the other parts. But because you get to see in between the parts, you still see a stainless steel. You might as well do a full coat if you actually want there to be consistency in your Gundam. So although it was, to me personally, a bit of a wasted effort, I feel that it was important enough for me to do it, even though it was like 90% of the thing is covered up. So assembly, I just had to make sure all the parts are good. And then the next part is step 4, paneling and decals. So paneling, I use the Copic marker 0.003. It's the second thinnest line of markers that they have, and they have been very reliable to date. So I do the paneling for the lighter bits like the purple and the whites. The blacks not so much, you can't really see panel lines on black. And then I do decals. As an older model, these decals, there are so many, just like 200 over stickers, and just even with a fine applicator, it takes a lot of time to do. I think I spent the most time on this Gundam on the decals, because even if painting took about 6 or so hours, and assembly took about 6 or so hours, the decals took about 8 to 10 hours easily, just because I just so many small details and so many small minuscule adjustments that you need to do. I found it easier to break apart the Gundam to do the decals on each single piece. So that's what happens, and that's what you're seeing, because it's really heavy. Anyway, so the final piece, this is it. This is a 360-degree view of the finished Gundam, and then of course there will be some more shots. Enjoy, and thanks for watching.